Hello and welcome to another episode of Workplace Wizards Podcast. This is episode number 40, and I'm your host, Arnel Smalley, along with our co-host,
Gavin Wong.
and Gavin Wong. All right, we're like to continue on with our self-awareness. Last episode in 39, we talked about self-awareness and self-motivation. How do we motivate ourselves? And we discovered that, and we had talked about how we got over fears and or talked about some of the fears that we may have in our motivation efforts. But today we're going to talk about how do we motivate, is our self-awareness towards motivating others? So that is more like, what do you want to say, Gavin? It's more like what?
Well, I think it all links back to what we spoke at last time. You need to understand yourself first.
Right.
But then you need to understand other people, because this is how the interaction will dictate how you motivate each other. And I think we are a really good example about how by understanding each other's personalities, we get on really well, but because we understand where we come from. So, when you look at our profiles, for example, our DISC profiles, we are very opposite.
Yes.
You look at them and you would say, these two aren't going to get on, but actually we get on really well. Okay. So well that you're, godfather to one of my children, and that means I trust you. And so it's very interesting that actually we come from very different personalities, but we're able to come together and have a very strong friendship. And for me, that's what's interesting about DISC profiles, is that it's not just about your self-awareness, but understanding how you interact with other people and with their personalities.
Right. So when we talk about in terms of motivating others, now how much DISC is involved in that? Because we say you can't use the same motivation words for every single person, because some people may be motivated by that, and it may be a distraction to another. Like, say, for instance, we talk about me being a high D, right? And I like to think things done. I like results. I like, I'm not worried about as much as people's how they feel about certain things, because I'm results oriented. Whereas you're that total opposite, where you know that the results will come if the people are satisfied, if you paid more attention to what the people wanted, or their feelings, and how to address that, and then it would produce the results.
Yes. And where that's crucial is that actually together we're quite a strong team. If we were like a management team together, we'd be very strong, because you'd be very much results orientated, I'd be people focused, and actually that's a very good balance in terms of what we give people. But I think when you look at how you get on with people, I mean, we are opposite, but we would get on well together for the very reason we just discussed. Actually, you bring your strengths, I bring my strengths. But what happens a lot with profiles, actually there's quite a lot of overlap in our profile as well. So both of us are strong I's, actually. So although we've got your dominant D and I'm a higher S, I plays a big part in that. So we actually, for us, that's the thing that combines us, gets us together. And it's really strong similarities. And actually for us, we're that sometimes is far more powerful than the disadvantages of our opposing assessments, or opposing personalities.
Styles.
Sorry. And that's really important, because that's what really holds us together. And I think about the where we have difficulties, generally speaking, on the day-to-day, that's not really an issue. And you think about most people, if you've got a harmonious relationship and the environment's going well, everything's all going fine, you link into those things where you are similar with other people. Okay. Because that's what keeps you going. It's all happy and it's all good.
Well, let's talk about some of our similarities. Like, first of all, we're both expressive.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I chose you to be along with my co-host on this podcast, is because every now and then, Gavin, you tell a pretty good joke. Every now and then. we have outward enthusiasm.
And
that's expressed in our podcast. We have a strong creative side, and And I think that plays both of us, regardless of results oriented, regardless of being people oriented. We have that strong tendency of just wanting to be creative,
Yes.
And then this is where it's a stretch for me, but we try to find, I guess, that happy place, and that's more of that people oriented, the happy place of making everybody smile,
Mm.
because that's not easy for me, but that's what you do that's what your personality style says you do on a daily.
Yeah, and it is interesting actually, because without trying to conflict different kind of assessments, my behavior is that I'm very much people focused. Actually, if you look at some of my other profiles from different things like Myers-Briggs, I'm actually quite outcome focused. So
Really?
actually, yeah, it's very interesting, because so my core, my way my brain works, is actually outcomes quite important to me. But what I've kind of learned in life and learned through my journey through leadership is that actually the way to get all that is by solely focusing on people. And therefore that's my behavior, and that's why it's important, because it's about how you behave, and you can change your behavior. So it's almost slightly counterintuitive to where my brain really wants to go, but actually that's how I know that I will achieve that. And it's and that's why I've got to a stage in my life where I don't worry about results, because I know they'll come anyway. Okay. If I didn't get results, then I think my profile would probably change, because my experience tell me actually you can concentrate on people now, but it doesn't make any difference to your results, and therefore you're going to have to change. So that's and that's just through experience. I've worked. That's just where I've kind of developed my leadership style. So it is quite for me. I think it's quite fascinating how things can change over time, and how things are informed actually from your experiences.
All right. Well, we talked a little bit about our similarities, Gavin. But now, another similarity what we didn't discuss was we both like a strong or good debate.
Yes.
Even though I always win, but we like to challenge each other. But what are some of our differences, Gavin? Because I'm that type of person. I like to challenge people, and I want to be challenged. That's my profile style. I want to be challenged, but you're not as much of a challenge. You don't like to challenge people as much.
No, I don't, and I think that a lot, because some things inform us through our lives. That we talk about nurture and nature. I remember when I was very young, I read it was a Chinese proverb. Okay, and it was this: those that don't argue don't get into arguments.
I like that. I like that.
And I didn't realize that until quite recently, that actually that plays out a lot for me. Unless I feel really, really strongly about something, because I'm very stubborn. My disc profile will show you that I'm very stubborn. But unless I'm really bothered about it, I will let things go. And therefore I don't. So with the conflict side of things, if I'm not bothered, I will just agree or won't say anything.
Really?
But that
okay.
all goes back to that proverb I was told when I was very young, because it just
say that proverb one more time for us.
So those that don't argue don't get into arguments.
Those that don't argue don't get into arguments. All right. Let's say, for instance, another difference is I'm more precise and you're not.
Mm-hmm.
How do you explain that? Why you're not
wrong?
precise?
Obviously, you're wrong, but
but in our personality styles, I tend to be more of a precision.
Yes.
But you're not that way.
Yeah, and I'm particularly not. What I've learned also is that when I'm managing people, or I give tasks to people, I do tend to allow people to get on and do it in their own way, because I have found over the years that sometimes I have been, if you try and think, I don't like the way you've written that report, and I end up rewriting someone's report for them. And actually, when you think about it, what's the point of that? If the report they've written produces essentially what you need it to produce, and it gives the right message, it's their report and their style. So you just got to let it go. And so for me, there's a lot about actually, I'm less worried about precision, and probably not enough. I think one of my failings, actually, because it is a good thing to highlight, is that sometimes I'm not precise enough, and I trust people too much because I worry less. They get on with it. But actually, what I need to do myself is make sure that I check more often, so that I understand what is being done and produced. Because I think that's probably let me down in the past, where I've trusted people and they haven't produced or performed as well as they should have done, and partly because I haven't really checked and checked the standard that they were doing things at. Albeit they can do it in their own style, I should have been more prescriptive.
Okay, so what you're saying is, so when you delegate, when you delegate a task, you pretty much leave it to that person to figure it out on their own.
Yes.
How to best do that task.
Yes.
Whereas in my profile style, in my behavior style, or my personality style, I would not do that as much. I would want to delegate, but also tell them how I would want it done.
Yes.
So that's where I guess that D personality style comes into being, wanting to be precise, because, hey, I want it done right the first time, and I don't want to have to do it again.
Yeah. So, do you micromanage? Are you a micromanager?
That comes with micromanaging. It does. Yeah. But you micromanage to a point until, like you said, until that trust is built. Until that, I can go through 100 of episodes of how I've allowed someone to do it their way. And, my way is not always going to be 100% correct. Just 99% of the time. That's all. No. So I'm not always going to be correct. So there are going to be times where I'm going to learn something also by allowing somebody to do it a little bit more of their way. But what I find works best for me is if I delegate and I give what I would like for how it to be done, but then the person says, what if I do it this way? Hey, you know something? Try it that way.
Yes.
Try it that way.
Yes.
Let's see how it works. Because if it doesn't work, then let's go back to what I said in the first place. Let's do it this way, because I'm giving you something that I know is going to be positive or progressive for getting to the objective results. And the reason I'm giving it to you is because I know there's going to be some results oriented out of it. However, can it be done a different way? And I love for a person to come back, not necessarily push back, but just say, hey, Arnel, I'm going to do it this way because I think it'd be more efficient, or it work better. And I'm wide open to that.
Yeah, and it's almost like we want to end up at the same place, but we approach it from two different routes. Your route is be more prescriptive to start off with, and then loosen up. And I might loosen up first, and then sometimes might be more prescriptive. So, and actually, so that's my go-to. And actually, that's failed me at sometimes. Sometimes I give them tasks to people who didn't actually have the capability of doing what I've asked them to do, but I've assumed that they could. I didn't check, and because I wasn't checking, they kind of failed. And that was my fault, not their fault. So it's a fascinating thing about understanding people in different places and how things drive you, and it changes as well. If you're under more pressure as well,
right?
I might be more inclined just to delegate to get things done and not really check, and that actually could be worse. So yeah, very interesting.
It is very interesting. And our last thing of our differences that I wanted to discuss real shortly is I like things to be fast paced.
Yeah.
How do you like things to be?
Not as fast as you want them to be.
So you want to take a slower pace to it and be more methodical and think about it.
Yes.
Okay.
If I know something really well, I'm quite happy to go quick. But if I don't know about things, I need to have time just to think about it, working my way through it. It's like putting up a shelf. You can't just put up a shelf. You've got to look at the wall. What type of wall is it? Is it dot and dab? Is it a plasterboard? What's behind it? How much weight have I got? Where am I going to put it?
Nobody understands the first word you said, but anyway.
Dot and dab, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But you can't just put a shelf up. You've got to work out what screws you're going to use. Are they heavy enough? Are they going to be strong? That's what my brain looks like. That's why you got to slow down.
All right, Gavin. Well, I appreciate having you on this episode of how we have self-awareness and motivating others. And I hope that, anybody out there in the HR field can understand that, hey, there's different ways that you have to use to adapt your style in order to motivate others, because not everybody's going to be motivated by the same catchphrases, or the same ways that motivate you may not be something that motivates another. So please check back in with us on Workplace Wizards Podcast. And if you have any comment or anything, or like to be a guest on one of our podcasts, please text us at 754-971-7007. And we are the ex-police officers, officials, leading the Workplace Wizards podcast. So for now, we're going to say goodbye.
Bye-bye.